Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We've talked about this before, but never dove deeper into it and how to deal with it to truly make yourself feel better. I'm talking about stress. You've heard stress kills. It's not good for you. It can create disease and illness. It can pull us down, but there are ways to deal with it, and maybe ways that you might be unaware of. We're going to talk about that today. She is a spiritual advisor, life coach. I call her our wellness expert because this is all in her wheelhouse. She's our professional of the year. She's back with us. Sara Regester is on the program. How you doing today?
Hey, Steve. I'm ready to dive right in.
Deep breath.
Deep breath. Yeah, let's start with a deep breath. That's a perfect way to start. Everyone, just take a deep breath wherever you are. Down in the lower belly, just take a pause, have a breath, and let it go.
It's everything, and we don't realize it, and we minimize it because it just seems so simple.
It's the built-in kind of stress reduction activation system. Breathing.
It's my Control-Alt-Delete. It's my reset button. Those, 3 deep breaths. I just shared this with somebody yesterday. Somebody I'm close to, shopping for a car. She's getting stressed out. The numbers. They still do what we hate from back in the day, where you're sitting there. Well, I got to talk to my manager, and you put the paper in front of you with the number and all of that. She needs to make the right decision. She's getting stressed out. I was like, don't worry about it. You're turning your car in. You have another one to borrow. For the meanwhile, take a deep breath and start listening. Which car you want? Which one you want. You got all the stuff in front of you. The breath, though, is it's magical.
It's magical.
It really is. Yeah.
And, in that story you just shared, Steve, the piece about taking the breath and dropping in and listening, that our intuition is not up in our head. It's down below your navel in your gut. Like, that's the seat of your intuition, is down in your belly. So that's where you want to trust your gut, is where your inner wisdom really is going to speak to you is from inside. So that's where taking a breath can help us to get there, to tap in and listen to that inner wisdom that we carry when we're not busy listening to the dialogue up here above the eyebrows.
The monkey chatter.
Yeah.
The way I know what you're saying is so incredibly factual about it residing in the stomach area is I gave myself an ulcer back in the day, like 7 years ago ish, and that's where it sits. That's where it resides when you're dealing with stress, right?
It can reside anywhere in your body, actually.
Sure.
But yeah, your gut's going to take the hit for sure, if not other places. But stress can have a whole cascade of symptoms that chronically living in stress is hard for our health. And so that's really why my message is you don't have to live like that. You can live a full life. You can meet your stress successfully with some different kinds of strategies. A lot of it is the mindset and the mindful awareness kind of approach. But, it is hard on our health if we don't have a productive way to deal when we are stressed. It's just a matter of making a choice to do it differently and having the tools to know what you can do differently.
What's sad, and I was a byproduct of this, is that we get used to dealing with stress. Doesn't mean we're minimizing it. We just get used to it. And it's like, an MMA fighter. He's in the ring. He's used to getting hit, but now he gets hit again. Well, he's not going to walk away, unless he gets hit bad. He's not going to drop down, although that could be stress dropping you down to where you're in the hospital or whatever it might be. Identification of stress is probably key in what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, I would say, we are wired for habit, that our brain and our nervous system is an intricate circuitry of pattern. And so what happens then is we get default patterns because it's very efficient for our body just to go to the same track it knows over and over and over. which is why changing habits, picking up new habits, takes some focus and some practice, to get the new way rewired, we'll say. And so from the perspective of what you're sharing, that really with stress, many of us only know how to respond to our stress as the fight or flight mode. And that becomes the default. And if fight and flight or freeze, which is really for survival adaptability, not for a rough day at the office or a blow up in the kitchen with your partner, that fight, flight, or freeze is to survive, but there's other ways to respond to stress that are not as harmful to your health as that sustained response with fight or flight. It's like all guns on, flogging the organs, bathing the cells with way more stress hormones than what you need for a prolonged period. And so we're not really designed to keep running through the stress in that mode. But like you said, we get so habituated to it, we don't recognize that we're trying to kill a fly with a Gatling gun and not a fly swatter. We don't need all that heavy response typically in our day-to-day, or we'll be exhausted or we'll wipe out our health. And I know this firsthand.
Hearing you talk about this stresses me out. I'm just saying. It's just because I get it, and I lived it too. Tell me your stress journey.
Oh, my stress journey. Well, I'm a healthcare practitioner, professional, a nurse for over 37 years. A long time. And I kept wiping out my health as a nurse in the hospital because I really wanted to be, a healthcare practitioner that was successful, and I really cared about my performance, and I always said yes, I never said no. So I kept really wiping out my health because I was working under so much stress, and I would really get myself in a place of being so sick, as you said, stop you in your tracks when you have to put on the brakes and just stop because your, health is so impacted.
Oh, yeah.
And so I did this several times, but what was interesting is I kept healing myself, that I'd kind of back off a little bit and do some different practices and things I learned, and I would feel better, and I'd get back into it and repeat the pattern until there was a time when I recognized, okay, there must be a way to be successful as a professional without wiping out my health. And isn't it interesting that I keep healing myself from these health problems? I wonder how I could help other people heal. And that's really where the seed was planted, with that awareness, with that moment when I really recognized, okay, time to find a new way.
I get it, lived it, drove myself to the hospital on my birthday because that's where it escalated the stress. And the stress created a ulcer, which I was unaware of. But when you're feeling that, you're like, something's wrong. So that just escalated it more to the point where I raised my normally low blood pressure. I felt my eyes popping out of my head. Like, it was just like, I can't take it. And then they diagnosed an ulcer, but best description, it just keeps getting worse. Like it's almost like the snowball down the hill. Little tiny stress snowball just keeps grabbing more snow till it's huge. And then now it's at the point where you can't even carry the snowball anymore. It's a boulder. It's amazing how it can just grow like cancer, like tentacles going out and just overtake your very being. What do we do? We've identified it. What do we do?
Mm-hmm. And I just want to back you up. Something that you just shared, Steve, is that it starts as a little whisper and then it knocks a little louder. And that symptom will keep knocking louder and louder until it stops us in our tracks.
Yeah.
And so the key is really the sooner that we can recognize with awareness that, okay, this isn't working for me, or I'm having these symptoms, or, I would say this. The very first step to ever changing anything is awareness, that you have to see it first in yourself, recognize it before you can actually start to make choices to do things differently. And so if we're continuing in our pattern, because this is how we do things and this is what we know. Like you mentioned, you kind of just ignore it or you push through it. And that's what you really don't want to do, because it'll keep advancing or hitting other organs or spreading. Like you said, it'll have snowball into other symptoms.
Yeah.
I can say, for me, my spectrum was all autoimmune. It was like one autoimmune after another, and significant. But I finally had enough awareness that I could see, okay, this is not going to work. I don't want to be learning my life lessons through my health problems. I think there's other ways I could be growing in my life other than trying to take care of my physical health, which, we are physical beings. So we do learn a lot through our physical body, but learning through pain and suffering is a rough road.
It's almost as if, as you're giving a wonderful illustration of the power that stress has over us, I just visualize stress is at the front door, and it's knocking, ringing the doorbell. You didn't answer the door. It's going to knock harder. It's going to keep going. It's going to keep going. Now it's a car driving through the front door.
Exactly.
It's coming through no matter what, unless you put up something to prevent it from coming through the door and keep it at bay, keep it at the curb, if you will. So let's say we're at the point where we identify stress. I got it. I know what it feels like. I know how everybody's different. You know how you react to certain situations. Now you're feeling it. Now it's doing whatever it normally does. It's knocking on your door. What do you do at that point?
Well, what we said at the very start of this conversation is, if we can have awareness of, okay, I'm overwhelmed or it's feeling too much, that just taking that pause and taking a deep breath is how we can put the brakes on. So that's where it takes the awareness that you can even take a mindful moment. And so I can share with you one of the most common practices that I share with people is called pause, notice, choose. And so when you feel like you're getting, like it's hitting you, there's more and more, you can't take another minute, you're like triggered and everything's overwhelming and over the top, or whatever, you're having a rough day, or you just got triggered by what someone did, something or said something, it's that awareness in the moment to just stop and take a few breaths, slow, deep breaths into your lower belly. The slow inhale and exhale is physiologically what puts the brakes on, called your rest and digest system. Also, a lot of articles out right now about the vagus nerve. And so it starts with taking those slow, deep breaths. And from there, that's the pause. And then the notice is naming it, like truthfully. Okay, that's not okay with me, what that person just did, or here I am getting annoyed again, or oh, I'm overwhelmed, there's so much to do, or hey, I'm starving. If we can name it without judgment, just like what is up for me in this very moment, and then the next question is choose. Okay, what will I do that will empower me and not sabotage me? Because we know the sabotage. Okay, so we're habitual beings. When we're numbed out and distracted, we go straight for social media scrolling. Maybe we go to the refrigerator. We have our kind of go-tos that bring soothing and distraction. But that making, the choose step is like, okay, what do I need? Do I need a drink of water? Do I need to take 10 more big, deep breaths? Do I need to get up from my desk and go take a walk? Like there's something about that little reboot in your day that can help you reset. And it's simple, but we have to have enough awareness first to recognize I need something for myself. And then the second is to remember, okay, I'm going to do pause, notice, choose. That's an example. Having a strategy that you don't have to have your stress run away with you. You don't have to have a bad day continue to be a bad day. If you have a practice or a door in, we could say, using your door example, to how you can like take defibrillator paddles to the heart. This is defibrillator paddles to your nervous system and a little reset. That's what it takes, actually, because bad things are going to happen. Annoying things are going to be there. Overwhelm when we overcommit. I mean, this is life. If it's not life, then your life is boring. Well,
Mm.
you don't want to live a boring life, but you got to know how you can put the brakes on sometimes if it gets to be too much before it runs away with you and starts impacting your health.
Difference between stress and anxiety? Are they closely connected? How do you identify what's going on when a situation presents itself?
Well, that's a good question because that's another example where we get habituated to anxiety. Some of us, I say us, I'm an anxious prone individual myself, which is partly why I'm sitting here in front of you now. And so really the physiology in the body doesn't know the difference between excitement and anxiety. So really anxiety is typically when we go to the future and we have these, I could say, wild imagination of what could happen, or we're worried about worst case scenario, and it starts to ramp up the stress hormones, and you can feel it in your body. You can feel the shake. You can feel your heart beating faster. You can feel the distraction that your mind is ruminating on this scenario. And so that anxiety can be really sabotaging. It pulls us out of presence and it shakes us up and makes us doubt ourselves and we get insecure and our performance is impacted. There's like a whole impact if we're in an anxious state of mind. But the hack for anxiety is to say, am I anxious or really am I excited? Because I hope I do well. I hope this talk with my boss goes well. I hope this pitch for my new product is strong. I hope I play well, in my game. So there's something about the mindset that is important. How are we labeling the anxiety? Can we shift it to where we really can recognize actually we're excited and that's what I'm feeling in my body is excitement. So that's one way. But in another sense, anxiety and stress often are like two tracks of the train. Typically, stress is a response of the unknown, the unexpected, and many times it's triggered by where we're going into resistance about something or where we're having competing values of two or more things that are important and we're trying to prioritize how they're going to fit together. So there's many ways that anxiety can present, but ultimately it's having practices to help the system calm down, recognizing what you're feeling and asking yourself, what do I need to do for myself right now that will empower me and not sabotage me? Do I need to light a candle? Do I need to say a prayer? I mean, it could be anything. Everyone has their own little list, but you need to think about it because if we keep the door, like we don't have things to plug in, we're going to do our automated numb out, whatever that is. And it's often the social media scrolling, reading email news, watching Netflix binge, having that extra beer or wine. Yeah, we have that kind of not so healthy way that we've helped to fix ourselves and we're trying to soothe, trying to distract and numb. But that's where we want to have some other options so we're not harming ourselves or not empowering ourselves in the process of trying to get out of it.
Yeah. And it could be, like we said about the breathing thing, even something as simple as I'm going for a walk. We don't realize it, how amazing and powerful that is. Just getting a moment, grounding yourself in nature, fresh air, just taking that pause. Speaking of pause, what were those three things you said before? I write everything down and I share them with
others. Write it down. Yeah, and you know what? I put it on a sticky note.
Girl,
put it on your monitor.
What do you think I got in my hand? I'm not even kidding.
Good.
I'm not even kidding. And I love technology and I'm a tech geek, but it's when it's on a piece of paper, especially neon, and it's in front of your face, you can't ignore it. It's screaming at you. So give that again. Right. Pause.
Yep. Pause. Notice. Choose. PNC. Pause, notice, choose. Put it on a sticky note, put it on your monitor, put it in your planner, put it on your mirror. If you practice it intentionally often, then it becomes more easy to pull out when you need it in a moment of freak out or overwhelm.
And it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You look at some people and they just deal with stress in a different way. We're all wired differently, and that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But, I look at friends. I have one friend who's an EMT. He's always on the go. Called him last night, my best friend. He's like, can't talk on a job right now. It's big. I'm like, okay, gotcha. He doesn't freak out. I'm not wired that way. I'm better. I've mitigated it. It's all good. I've noticed, how I react in body and it's fine. But I'm amazed how other people deal with stress and situations.
Yes.
And I don't think he's, stopping to pause and breathe because he probably doesn't need to.
Well, here's the thing, that the fact he would even answer the phone when he's like on duty like that says something that, he's got holding it together, and has strategies for that because that's his profession, right? He knows that arena.
Sure.
But what I want to share with you that's really insightful is that there's a belief that stress is harmful, stress is bad, and people buy into that. But if you look at the latest science of stress, what they found and they discovered is that you could take two individuals who have crazy busy lives, and if person A says, oh my gosh, this stress is going to kill me, they actually will live a shorter life, have more health problems, and truly feel the impact of that chronic stress. Person B is equally as busy, crazy life, and they're saying, because they don't believe stress is harmful, they say, wow, I'm really busy. I better figure out how I'm going to get through this. And so in the mindset, person A is like, what am I going to do? And person B is like, how am I going to do this? And so there's a huge element when I say rewire the brain, it's we got to shift our perspective and see things a little differently so that we don't have to believe that stress is harmful. It will be if your only way to respond is fight or flight, which is not going to be helpful for your guy that's the EMT, versus if we can have a response that's the other ways to respond to stress that's more productive with less impact from the stress hormones, then it's not going to be harmful. We can be really busy and overwhelmed for moments, but we're not at the impact of that constant flooding of the organs, bathing the cells with too much of that fight or flight juice.
It sounds like it's manifestation as well. If you keep believing that stress, it's going to kill me one of these days, and then on with the next stress event, eventually you're asking for it. Like your parents always used to say, be careful what you ask for. You're asking for it. You're asking for it. Wow.
And that's what they found out is person B lives longer, healthier, because they don't believe stress is harmful.
Right.
It comes down to that. That's science right there.
Stress is manageable, not harmful. but if you don't manage it, it's harmful. Love your approach to everything. You make it clear, easy to understand. Great book out, Courage to Shine, which is available on your website. You can get more details about it there. What is your website? Please share.
Yes. My website is directions, 4, wellness.com. And the Courage to Shine, How to Feel Confident Outside Your Comfort Zone is available on Amazon, Audible, all the outlets. So if you want some strategies to master your stress, that's your go-to.
Love it. Love it. It says it all. Directions, 4, wellness.com. Thank you for the direction today on stress. While you're a professional of the year, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
And breathe, everybody.
Everyone, let's take one final breath.
Well, hold on a second. Not final breath.
Oh. Well, you know what I mean.
That's why we're here. Yes,
breath.
Love it. Thanks a lot, Sara.
Okay.
Be well. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.